Welcome to the Save Childhood podcast with Jennifer McCarville. Because childhood has changed, but children have not. Hey there, welcome to the Save Childhood podcast. I'm Nicole Dugan.
And I'm Jennifer McCarville.
And today we are talking about mark making. Mark making. What is
weird.
Mark making?
Yeah. So, making marks.
Yeah.
Making marks with things like crayons and pens and markers and paint.
And it's not Scribble Scrabble.
It is not Scribble Scrabble.
No. It's important. Important work.
Scribble Scrabble really kind of dismisses the deep importance of this mark making. So let's just change that word.
Okay.
From scribble to mark.
Okay, mark making.
Mark making, writing. It's writing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So mark making. It happens naturally for children all over the world. No matter what, there's a natural sequence. Children enjoy making marks, whether they're taking a stick and making a mark in the dirt, or they're using actual crayons, pencils, those kinds of materials. But and there's actually a sequence of mark making, scribbles, that is naturally embedded in every child, and it's really fascinating. There's been some work done about that. Like, we know there was a researcher who collected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children's samples and the age that they drew them, and all over the world the sequence is the same. And so this is a very valuable, just like everything else in development, really studying children and understanding that everything has a purpose.
Right.
And that mark making and scribbles are so valuable. They're not on the way to writing, they are writing. And that's one thing that we really value in the Marvelously Made Way, the method that we have here at our school and through the Save Childhood movement, all things, is that every stage is complete. The activities that children are doing when they're 3 have deep and inherent value. It's not that you're getting ready for, it's
right.
that you are. And so the making scribbles, the mark making, so valuable. And we want to talk today, I think, about honoring that and recognizing it.
I think that if we're being honest, I think I might have stolen some of the joy from my son the first time as a new parent when he did start making marks. I think in my brain I thought, oh, this is so exciting. Okay, next step, circle. Or I tried to hurry him on to the next thing, and I probably stole some joy from creating that pressure of making something that an adult could recognize.
Well, at the risk of making you feel bad, you probably did.
I know.
And not only that, not only did you steal the joy, because there is joy in the power of making a mark. Putting something there that didn't exist before and seeing it. And that's so powerful for children, for all of us, if we want to really be honest, right? To create something or make a mark, etc. But that they weren't ready for that next step. So when we do that to children, we're like, oh, look at your mark, now make a, we're really, really disregarding their confidence and the joy that they get from that and allowing their development to unfold naturally. And you've just pushed them to a place where they're just going to stop a lot of times. They just stop.
Right.
And I know we have a story about that too, that happened with someone.
So someone was sharing a story with me that their family member's daughter was making marks on the paper with a crayon, and the grip happened to be a fist grip because they were young, and that's part of development as well.
That's completely okay.
But that the mom, out of fear of forming the wrong grip, physically corrected the child's grasp on the crayon.
Your grasp, yeah.
And then the daughter didn't want to do it anymore. Got up and walked away.
And you gotta really pay attention to that, because what they're telling you is, my hands aren't ready to do that yet.
Yeah.
And, the hands there's a lot of development that's taking place in the hands over time. And, when their hands are ready to change the grip, it starts to happen naturally. There are children that do need some facilitation with that, but as always, later is better. And that's so hard, because as educators too, we know that motor planning and motor patterns are so important. So it's like, when do you do that? When don't you? And so the important thing is, to wait. That's why I say later is better. And also give them the space and check some resources even for development, and make sure that your expectation is aligned with development.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But there is a natural progression. They're going to start out as toddlers holding things with a fist grip, and then their fist grip's going to change, and then they're eventually over time going to adapt their grip. And we know that by about age 5, they usually are developing a really healthy grip that is functional. Functional grips can look different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to keep in mind if a child you're working with has a grip that looks a little bit different from yours, or from the ones that you're used to, that you check out some resources for that as well, because functional grips might surprise you sometimes.
Agreed.
You know, I know that the grip of putting the writing utensil between your fingers like this is
between
actually
your pointer finger and tall man.
actually a functional grip.
Yeah.
Which you think, oh, how can that be? It's not as common, but it is considered functional. And so watching for the child and the comfort of that as they get older. I think not pushing the grip too soon, and actually probably not pushing it ever, but walking alongside the child. And also knowing that when it's time, they're going to make those marks into things that look more adultified.
Okay. And
Right.
so how long do they stay? I already know what you're going to say, as long as they need to. But typically, the mark making process looks like what?
Well, the mark making process can look like it'll start being dots. It
Okay.
often starts being dots, and then it's lines, and then it can start to include swirls and waves and shapes, even, and everything has a shape, right? So it might be an organic shape, it might be a math shape, but shapes and outlines and things like that start to evolve.
Okay.
So, and then they will begin to learn to make marks from the top to the bottom, things like that you'll see naturally evolve from the teacher in the classroom support.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, as long as they need to.
Okay, yeah, I knew you were going to say that. And another mistake parents and teachers sometimes make is, and I've already confessed my mistake today,
We
so
all
I'm
make
not going
lots
to
of
take
them.
this one, but they might say, look at a child's marks on the paper and say, oh, a boat, you drew a boat.
Oh,
And the kids
that's a biggie and a
would
baddie around
say,
here.
oh, no, it's not a boat, it's a monster, or
Right.
it's a plant.
Right, you really want to support and encourage mark making with the children. And so one of the ways you do that is you recognize that these are first steps to drawing, that drawing is evolving, and that drawing is self-expression. And so when you go to them and make an assumption about what they've drawn, a lot of times you can be wrong. And so a way to approach that is to say, wow, you've been working on that for a while, tell me about your drawing. You know, and also you don't always have to say something about their drawing or name it. And knowing that it's a while before they have representational drawing. So it's evolving. So it may look like something to you that it's not to them. A lot of time their drawing is telling a story. It's a roller coaster happening. It's, bubbles floating, and it doesn't look to you like it does to them. So finding ways to approach that child that never assume, that give the child the space to explain their creation if necessary, is so important, so important.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what's happening in the brain during mark making.
Well, so of course, just like other activities that are important for learning and for cognitive development and neurodevelopment, when they're drawing, they are creating these neural pathways for writing to fall into and to lean on. So the more mark making they're able to do, the stronger those neural pathways for writing are going to be. So that's really important. You're also notice that they're drawing we always say the smaller the child, the bigger the paper. So they're drawing all over the paper. And if they're doing that, you'll notice that they're crossing that midline of their bodies because they can move big and they need to do that. And that's so important for basically wiring, linking the two hemispheres of the brain so that the left and the right brain can speak to each other. So whenever they're engaging in drawing activities where they're able to do that, that's a lot of neuro work being done. But these neuro pathways are so important and need a lot of time for the memory of those neurological pathways to be strong.
Right.
As they build on, as those mark making and writing experiences continue to progress.
Right. And during that time, there are other things that children can be doing with their hands to strengthen those hand and finger muscles.
Yes. So since mark making is going to lead to later writing and storytelling and those things, there are things that naturally are in our environment, and we should be in all environments really, to develop pencil grasp. Things like working with pipettes, which are kind of like small eyedroppers. Fine motor coordination is so valuable. So anything they're putting pegs into, working with puzzles to manipulate things is important. It's going to nurture the cognitive processing that they do. So muscle control, muscle memory, neuro pathways, hand-eye coordination is being developed through that. So many important motor skills.
Right.
Fine
Working
motor
with clay.
skills. Yeah. Wrist rotation, working with clay is important. We actually prefer clay because it's natural and it also is a little more resistant than like Play-Doh. It's very simple. We also we want to make sure we chose, now you can debate everything in education, and those of you who are educators and have been doing this for a while know that. You can make an argument for almost anything. Our arguments are based on brain research, child development, and a lot of years of experience watching children and seeing them be successful. And when those three things align, we make a decision, such as with the younger children, we use golf pencils. We want to just naturally, by the time they're 3, not younger than 3, but by the time they're 3, the golf pencils are in their environment. We want them to be put in a position where they're naturally trying to figure out how to get their hand around that. But they also are primarily using crayons. We have some crayons that are called rock crayons because they do look like rocks, but they put your fingers in just the right position. When you grasp it, they have little divots in them that naturally hold the pencil grasp, the fingers in place for that. We also use flip crayons, which are small as well, and they are colored. Half of them is one color, the other half is the other. You want wrist rotation activity, so they're flipping those around to get the right color. We do a lot of other things to develop those skills for writing and strengthening their hands. Mm-hmm. Things like working with a lot of tactile things in addition to clay, so they're doing that as well. We only use crayons. We rarely use markers at our school, and that's because children have been writing with markers over and over and over, and more recently in the last several years, this has become in the last decade at least, this the go-to. Markers, you don't have to sharpen them, they don't melt, you don't have to, but what's also happening is that you don't need to apply much pressure or use much effort to make a mark with those. And that is not good for the development of the child. So you need to use crayons and colored pencils and pencils because you need to apply pressure when you use those. And you're going to need to apply pressure when you start to write with pencils for actual writing experiences that are academic.
And that's why we also use chalk and chalkboards for a lot of our tasks.
For that resistance.
You have to do a lot, yeah.
Yeah, you want them to have that, to need to apply some pressure.
Yes.
Really important. So, and definitely we can include links and information about some of these things we've talked about flip crayons and rock crayons and where you can get some of those things and why they're important. So we'll include some of that information as well. This is a really big topic.
I know, I didn't know it was going to get so big.
As we outlined it and prepared for it, I felt like we were checking the boxes, but actually it's a really big topic. So.
Well, I think it's something we'll be talking more about, but today's message and encouragement for people is to savor the moment of mark making.
Realize that mark making has meaning and a valuable developmental stage is what that is all about. It naturally happens. Children want to make marks.
Not to rush them through it.
Don't rush them through it. We're not in a hurry. We know that the neural pathways that they're building are important and the foundation for future, more complicated marks that connect. And that process does happen, just like anything else. We don't need to push them to the next place in that, but to value that, to know that this is what all children need and what they do, and they need lots of time and space, and that it's important to them. So the language we use when we respond to what they've written is very valuable. It's so disheartening when the children will draw something and say, it's just scribble, it's just Scribble Scrabble. They've heard that somewhere by some well-intended adult, no doubt. But the reality is that just soul-crushing for so many children.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. So you just say, tell me about it, and wow, you worked hard on that. There should be just joy and no pressure. Children should have the opportunity they can use that to express feelings when they're mark making, painting for the, just the soothing experience and the joy of painting, writing, mark making, all of those things. Children communicate stories and feelings, all kinds of valuable things are happening. Giving them the space to do that is just a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So we will be talking more about writing and pencil grasp in the future.
Yes.
But thank you for joining us today. Like and follow us here and over on social media, Instagram, Facebook.
savechildhood.org.
savechildhood.org.
Save Childhood.
Join us. You can sign up there to join the movement and take advantage of our resources that we have over there.
Yes, building them all the time. So we're happy you're part of the community. Join the movement, and then we'll be able to reach out with information and new things coming up, like our conference, and just lots of wonderful things happening as we work together and hopefully work with you to save childhood for children. It's beautiful.
Right. Okay, see you next time.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us today. To learn more and join the movement, go to savechildhood.org.